Hey, what's up guys, it's Mark Yoon, and today I'm bringing another hopefully exciting video. So what I got for you today is our Friday community video, and this one is going to be in response to the two videos that I did earlier last week that you guys responded the most to, and those two videos are the tag mechanic possibility in Soul Calibur and the update for 2.12, which was just released. So I'm going to be reading those comments, starting with the update and then moving on to the tag mode. Let's begin. Legendaru Cool says, "My Siegfried is still good, let's go." And then he follows up with, "We still need more updates, laugh out loud," which I agree, updates are always a good thing, even though sometimes the balance patches can be annoying when your favorite character gets nerfed a lot, but let's move on. Marcus Pollard says, "Which tier level would you put Haohmaru in? In my opinion, I would put him at a high tier A." For me, Haohmaru is definitely in the A tier, but I think you have to kind of know how to use him because he has a lot of moves that are like easily punishable. He has a lot of wide swings, and especially when he's like using the gourd and stuff like that, like he leaves himself open for like at least like 2 frames. So it's kind of easy to punish him, but he's one of those characters like Maxi that if you get into a combo string, it's really hard to break him out of, even if you're using the 8-way run because of the reach of his sword. So I would definitely put him in tier A. Caliber75 the Gamer says, "I'm glad you put this out, thank you." Well, you're welcome, Caliber. I'm happy to put it out for you guys. David King says, "I have a doubt about these balance, quote-unquote, patches. Sometimes I think they unbalance the patches themselves. I think this applies to every game. This means that they never get the balance right, and if they are always in need of releasing patch after patch. I think the reason that they do the patches is because once they put a balanced patch out, most of the times they need fixes because it comes out when new characters are released, and new characters aren't always completely tested as the base roster characters before they put out. There's not as much QA testing as put into them as the base roster before a game's released. So when they release a character like that, it affects the whole meta of the entire game, and instead of just like completely destroying one character and nerfing them completely, they have to usually balance multiple characters because they'll find different ways that that character can punish them like without normal means of the game's use. Like for example, Haohmaru, when he released, he has his combo string before the super where he does a slash up and gets you in the air and then a slash down, and that was causing like way too many easy ring outs for certain characters, so they actually nerfed that to where the frames actually were extended so that the ring outs were harder to attain with him. And then obviously once they do that patch and they do that, then there's going to be some more balances that need to be fixed with that same character and other characters, how they interact with them. It's like a delicate song and dance to get like a perfect balance down, which is why like a lot of the PS2 era games and PS1 games, when a fighting game was very unbalanced, they would straight up like just say that the game's unbalanced and there's nothing they could do about it because there was no means to actually patch or update games at that point. So we're kind of lucky that we actually do get these like update and balance patches to like try and make the game more competitive or whatever, but it's mainly for esports and it's mainly for the competitive scene and ranked online. So if you're like a casual player and just like play against your friends, then like you're not really going to notice the differences anyway, because we don't really count frames that often when we're going against a friend or a computer. So I think like they're necessary, but I could definitely see your point. It definitely does seem like they unbalance things even further. Marquise Ballard also says, "Who is in your opinion the most fun to play guest character and the best one? Geralt, 2B, or Haohmaru? Haohmaru is my favorite." And I believe when I responded to this, I actually said that Haohmaru is my favorite, but I think 2B is the most fun to play as. Just because I like her cannons and like the different weapons that she has and stuff. I just think she's incredibly fun. But Haohmaru definitely is my favorite of the guest characters, and I believe in my guest video that came out yesterday, I said he was my second favorite, which dropped 2B down to number 4. Metal Raptor says, If they spent half the time fixing character creation as they do with balancing the game, it would probably be perfect by now. Annoyed face. Yeah, I'd have to agree, Steve. That would be the case. Unfortunately, fighting games these days, which I also said in a video I did like 2 years ago with Ragaroth, that might have been 3 years at this point. The problem with modern fighting games is they cater way more heavily to the esports crowd because they get a lot of money from the esports. Not necessarily to put back into development of the game, mind you. It's mainly for future endeavors with esports and paying the players and whatnot in the venues. But they make a lot of their bulk money from that before day one sales, because a $60 game isn't as nowhere near as much money as they would make from like a ton of people tuning into something and clicks for like winnings and tournaments and stuff like that. So balancing is their top priority, and unfortunately the things that get thrown to the wayside are the single player modes, like updating the story mode or updating Libra of Souls, you know what I mean, stuff like that. Updating character creation definitely is the biggest one, because characters that are created aren't obviously allowed in online tournaments because of size issues and stuff like that, so they really don't care about them, because they know that we're going to complain and we're going to piss and moan, but then like at the end of the day we're still going to play the game. So they know that we're the core audience. Ashton Bird says, any new pieces? And I believe he was talking about for create a character in the patch, and I don't believe there were any. It was just a balanced patch for hotfixes. The next pack that we should be getting for creation parts will come out with the next character, and the next big pack will probably come out in the next season, which will probably be the final season DLC for Soul Calibur 6. And I'm going to have videos on that next week. So next week is going to be completely dedicated to Season Pass 3, my predictions and stuff like that, my desires. So we can talk about that then. Patriots1112 says, whoa, a Voldo nerf? That's new. And that is incredibly new, because Voldo hardly ever gets nerfed, and he's got a lot of punishable and unbalanced mechanics. He's got combo strings that, like, I don't know. It's like he's one character I would expect to be nerfed all the time, but he rarely ever does, so. And if he does get nerfed, it usually doesn't have anything to do with, like, his damage. It's usually frames and stuff like that, so I don't know. It's pretty interesting to see the different ways they try and nerf him. And we have Shadow of the North Star with his comment, and he's got a picture of Midowim, so I gotta love this comment automatically, because Midowim is my favorite Hunter x Hunter character. I swear those guys making the balance patch hate Taki. Every patch she gets nerfed. At least they didn't touch the Alexandria sisters, which I'm happy about, which is obviously Sophie and Cassie. But yeah, Taki's like super fast, and she has range with her like projectiles and bombs and stuff, so she usually gets patched because I want to say she's the fastest character in the game, so she creates a lot of balance issues with other characters, especially the ones that wield larger weapons, because she can get in and get quick and dirty, and her damage is pretty decent as well. She was my main for a long time for a reason, so can I fault them for it? Yeah, because I don't want her getting like messed with, but I mean, it is what it is, bro. We gotta take our losses when we're having favorite characters. Okay, and now that was everything for the patch notes for 2.12. Again, I didn't put the responses because I wanted to respond to them myself in the video, but now we are going to move on to the tag mechanics video that we were talking about last week. Metal Raptor says, congrats on 501 subs, Mark. They did have a tag system in Soul Calibur 4. I don't think it worked outside of certain modes though, and I don't think the player had any choice in who appeared as the partner. It would be interesting to see how critical edges would be affected in a tag match. At least the characters with personal connections like Sophitia and Cassandra, I'm thinking of Soul Calibur 2's opening movie. I remember the game Inuyasha Feudal Combat didn't have a tag mode. Instead it had a partner that joined you in battle, and based on the pairing, the special attack, basically a critical edge, would sometimes have both characters combine their specials into a double attack. If they did try to implement a tag team mode, I think it would have to wait for a Soul Calibur 7 release. I agree. And I don't see that happening for at least another 3 years. I agree again. Not exactly a tag team feature, but another feature that past fighting games have utilized are team battles, where the player selects a group to fight against another group. Each time one loses of another character's creations, the team takes their place. That's King of the Hill, yeah. The Tekken series had a feature in some of their games that I always wanted to see added into Soul Calibur game. The name has changed depending on the game, but in Tekken 4 it was called Tekken Force. Yeah, Tekken Force, and I think in Tekken 5 it was called The Devil Within, if I remember correctly. Imagine if they added a feature like that to Libra of Souls or Story Mode. Think the Soul Calibur 3 endings of characters like Taki, where she's infiltrating a castle and meets the boss, Mitsurugi in that case, on the bridge at the end of the stage. Or perhaps they can have Hilda defending the castle from a siege of Malfested. Yeah, that's another idea that we were talking about. I know a lot in the comment section. If they did a kind of Tekken Force quote-unquote mode in a game like that, in like a to not really replace the basic text-based story mode, but to instead replace a mode like Libra of Souls or something like that. And another thing that I thought would be cool is if you can actually go through that mode with co-op. Like choosing 2 different characters and going throughout like the whole stage and, you know, everything being a boss. I would want it to be almost exactly like Tekken Force. Like, I thought Tekken Force and The Devil Within were great. So if they did something similar like that, but then just opted in for co-op, which I believe The Devil Within did, that would be completely fine by me, and I would love that kind of a mode. Libra is fine, but to me it can get boring at times, and the whole purchasing movement space like on the board, it was kind of annoying to me. But besides that, I know like some people liked it, and I'm not going to hate on it for the lore that it added, but this one would be the mode that I would go for. Seth Broadwick says, cool, I would like that, but like Tekken Tag or something a bit different. Yes, get the fuck out of here with Reversal Edge. I hate it. Trade it in for a tag mode. You got me agreeing with that. Like, some people like Reversal Edge, but I've always said it from the beginning that I hate Reversal Edge, especially when they put it in the combo strings and they don't just let you have it relegated to a single button press, because it can be overused and annoying and spammed and prolong the length of a battle unnecessarily. It is good for reversing the flow of a match, but I think there needs to be a meter for it, or a gauge, and you probably should only be able to have like 1 or 2 per match or per fight period. So if you use them both in the first round, then you can't use them in the second round, and vice versa. I think it's ridiculous that you're allowed to spam it and that it's automatically put into some of the combo strings. That's just me, but it messes up the flow of the game exceedingly. Rudderbutt Cosplay says, interesting idea. Well, thank you. Thank you for your interesting comment. Nekrugami Solkun says, I really, really hope that they would add a tag mode in some way or form. And I do as well. That's why I made the video. I think it would be a really interesting concept that they can do, and I would really like to actually play it. It would be fun. Solarflame95 says, something like this would be a very welcome addition. I agree, Matt. It would be a very good addition. Roxas3 Sora XXX says, you know, if we're going to talk about extra game modes, how cool would it be if they added a slippery mode and earthquake extra modes that would make those multipliers much more fun? And I believe some of you guys commented on that comment in that section, talking about how Tower of Souls and Soul Calibur 4 actually had modifiers like that, like similar to the towers in Mortal Kombat. They actually did do that in Towers of Time, I believe it was called, in Soul Calibur 4. Patriots1112 says, I've wanted Soul Calibur 2's tag battle since launch. I'd leave the assists and tag-ins to Marvel and such, though. Yeah, we were talking about how they would implement, like, assists and stuff like that, like, for ring outs. And I think, like, they should be able to use that kind of stuff, but I think it should be relegated to a gauge. So, like, you have, like, a soul meter, and, like, defense moves, like, special moves, assist moves, and those kind of, like, tag moves and stuff should cost meter. That way you're not just, like, doing, like, Dead or Alive, where you're just coming in and out, like, every 5 seconds. And they both need to share the same health bar, in my opinion. There shouldn't be 2 separate health bars. Jabeline Kokoro says, a tag mode would be more interesting and add more gameplay variety. I would love a team battle and survival mode, as Soul Calibur 6 would definitely benefit from those in the long run. I agree also, but like we were talking about before, Soul Calibur 6 is not going to see any of these things implemented. We're going to get Season 3, and Soul Calibur 6 is going to be done. They're probably going to still give us update patches and hotfixes, but beyond that, like anything that we're talking about now would be put towards a Soul Calibur 7, which we're not going to see for at least 2 years. That probably after the first year of the next-gen console cycle being released. I don't really see them doing anything sooner, and I actually wouldn't want them to, because they need to concentrate on fixing the assets in the game that they already have. Soul Calibur 6 in many ways is broken, and they need to actually fix a lot of those issues before they move on to a 7. Otherwise, this series that we love is going to fall to the wayside, and we're not going to be able to ever recoup from it. So, I agree with you that it would complement Soul Calibur 6, but we're not going to see that happen. 100% guarantee that. Rygarolf says, ever since Mortal Kombat refuses to bring it back after 9, and now Dead or Alive 6 cut it out, as well as probably not getting a Tekken Tag 3 anytime soon, I definitely want more Tag Battle. Soul Calibur definitely could pick up the slack, and congrats on 500 subscribers. Thanks, Rich. And yeah, it definitely could. I think it would give a really good shake-up to the series. Even if they wanted to make like a Tekken Tag type game and the next game wasn't a Soul Calibur 7, if they just did a Soul Calibur Tag and had all of the characters from the previous games, obviously minus the guest characters because we can't deal with licensing issues in those games, and gave us all the bonus characters, all the extra characters, still had character creation, and had some kind of cool single-player story mode like a Tekken Force, that Soul Calibur Tag Battle game would do immensely well. And I would like to see some mini-games too, because like Tekken, one of my favorite parts about the Tekken Tag, especially the first one, is the Tekken Bowling, which they brought back in 6, but it's not online multiplayer, which is weird. If they did some kind of goofy like game, like mini game like that for Soul Calibur, I think that would also complement the series really well as well. I know Mortal Kombat's done stuff like that in the past too, like Chess Combat and Puzzle Fighter, and even the Kart Racer in that 3D era series. But yeah, I mean, nothing can hurt at this point unless they just like go off the deep end. Shadow of the North Star says, I don't know about tag modes are pretty broken, but it would give more modes to the game. Not this game, right, but sometimes they could be broken, but there is easy ways to balance them. Most of the ones that are broken, I would say, are the 3v3, not the 2v2s, but the team battles usually have a lot more spamming and a lot more easy ways to like combo string and end and extend combos than a 2v2 does. And like I said, if we implemented a soul gauge meter where like it actually took away from the meter and you'd have to rebuild it from taking damage, then that would actually solve that issue. D-Sama says, if the tag battle is like how Soul Calibur 2, Soul Calibur 4, and Lost Swords did it, then I'm all for it since it will spice up the gameplay. I'd like it if they shared health like Naruto Ultimate Ninja 4 and Tekken Tag, and it's not tagged, so it's not like my character's low in health and I'll just switch it out. If you do a button that has your partner break you out of a move, cost you some of your guard meters so that people can't use it, or like Naruto games where they do it, they have to recharge before doing it again. I feel like they need to bring back Tower of Souls, or at least that's what it was, Tower of Souls, not Tower of Time. Tower of Souls, or at least a survival mode similar to it. Being able to see how far you go and actually earning new clothing pieces exclusively to that mode that will make it more worthwhile. I personally love Reversal Edge because it's like a do and die situation, but when someone does it, just LH them with Cassandra and keep it moving. Well, I guess that makes sense if you're using Cassandra, but if you're not using Cassandra, it's pretty annoying when they constantly spam it, because you're like forced into it if it hits. Usually like the only way I can get out of it is like a parry or like a sidestep, but more often than not when you're in the heat of a battle and it's coming down to Reversal Edge being used, I really wish that there was only one that they can do instead of just like constantly spamming it, especially the computer. Emerald Dragonblade says, I think we should do something like cross tag battle, how they do their tag, except for the whole ending battles quickly. I do have cross tag battle on my Switch. I haven't really played it that much. I think I've done like one round when you first start out with Ragna. I haven't really gotten into the game too much, so I will comment back on this once I get more playtime in with it and see how things go with that game. Ashton Bird also says, an interesting idea, although how would it work here? Would it be just like Soul Calibur 4 with its tag team thing, or something like an assist thing in Blaze Blue cross tag battle? I hope I answered that question already with the previous responses, with the, you know, like a soul gauge or like a soul meter or something like that, and like limiting usage by not just recharging over time, but taking damage to build the meter up. It's worked well in other games, and I think it would actually be implemented well in this one as well. And that's going to do it for today's community video, guys. Thanks again for everyone who commented. I usually do these on Fridays, so the videos that I do that have the most comments, I usually cover on those. So comment below if you want something read, if you want your comment read online. Also, I would like to hear your thoughts on future videos and content. And if someone is going to unsubscribe or dislike the video, can you please in the comment section down below let me the reason why, so that I can improve the channel? Because if you just like dislike and leave, then I have no way of knowing like why you left and how to actually fix that in the future. I think a lot of times people dislike the video or unsubscribe based on news that I bring that I have nothing to do with. It's kind of like don't kill the messenger type deal, which I can understand if you're in a fit of rage doing something like that, and I'm not faulting you for it. It's your right. You don't have to be subscribed to me, but just if some communication would be great so I can help those other people maybe stay or avoid that in the future. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I know this was a longer video, but I wanted to cover the 2 videos instead of just one because there was a lot of comments. Like I said, if you guys want to keep it going, the comment section down below is open. Thanks again. I appreciate you guys. And as always, peace.